Prey is the newest film to the Predator franchise. This one is a prequel to the original 1987 Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and this one is more of an origin story. This one says the origin story of the Predator in the world of the Comanche Nation 300 years ago. Naru, a skilled female warrior, fights to protect her tribe against one of the first highly involved predators to land on Earth. Now, there's been a lot of different Predator movies. I still say the very first one is the best one, as most franchises go. The very first is always the best. There are others I did thoroughly enjoy, and a couple other ones are kind of okay. Now, this movie was really good. I don't understand how this dropped directly on Hulu. They totally missed out not dropping this in the theater. This would have done so incredibly well with a theatrical release. This movie had a fantastic story to it. It had lots of action, and I love the underdog side of this because everyone loves an underdog story. I mean, hell, look at Rocky. It's the ultimate underdog story, and this one is another one that I think does it really well. So we have this girl who's trying to prove herself in her tribe. She's a female warrior, probably the only one there, and she is trying to prove herself to be as good as all the other males. Now, the problem with this is, of course, back then, the females were not revered or looked at as warriors. So she's trying to go out and kill any animal that would be considered dangerous to prove herself worthy. Now, I will say this, being we are taking place 300 years ago in a Comanche nation, I feel like their English speaking was too perfect. Like, they needed more of an accent, or maybe even spoke more Comanche with some English subtitles to kind of really get that vibe across. But they spoke very good English, which kind of took away from the feel a little bit. But I mean, considering how good I thought the movie was, it's just a minor gripe that I'm not going to harp on too much. At least some really harsh accents or something. I don't know. But the English speaking was way too good. Now, as far as the Predator himself, I love this guy. He is also kind of a primitive, I don't want to say primitive version of a Predator, because they're always the highly advanced apex predator, right? I mean, that's the name. But his weapons are different. They're not as evolved even as the ones we saw in the 1987 Predator. So the laser sightings that come off his helmet, those 3 red dots that would shoot a laser out of his helmet, don't shoot lasers now. Now they're shooting steel arrows that track their target. So there's still a level of digression with this Predator, even to, like I said, the 1987 Predator. So I like seeing that bit of evolution, or in this case, de-evolution of the Predator. The overall design of him, though, is very familiar. It's very similar to the one from 1987, and I like that. You could tell as the franchise has evolved that the Predator has evolved and his looks and everything changed. But I like this one because he does look more primitive, and I just, the character and the feel I get from it is very much of that of the original. And I think that's very important when you're going to an origin story, that you're somewhat reflective of the original movie. And I do get that quite a bit, not only in his design, but also the environment and where they're fighting and the fighting style. I was really captivated with it, and it brought back a bit of a nostalgic feel to me. Now, one of the cool things about the Predator is he's not necessarily there, it seems, to hunt down humans. I don't even think that they've really had that concept of humans being the apex predator on Earth yet. He was dropped there to pretty much defeat any creature to prove that he is the apex predator. So whether it be bears or wolves or whatever other creatures that he comes across, he needs to prove himself to be the best. So he's fighting anything that seems aggressive that he could, battle as a warrior's test, I guess. So that kind of brings a whole new feel to things, and I really like that because having him hunt just humans adds more sport to it, where it kind of like, I feel like the Predator and Naru, our female warrior, are on the same path. Like they're trying to prove the same thing. Now, as far as the storytelling is concerned, this was done so incredibly well. It had great build-up. It had great character build-up. I think there was quite a few characters in here that did take a back seat to the story, but they were necessary to tell the story. So we got just enough information on them to tell the story without going too deep into it and wasting time in the movie. The movie was an hour and 40 minutes long, which I think was perfect for this movie. Now, we also have other characters like Naru and her brother who we've gotten more details on, which was perfect to fit, again, the story that we needed to tell. But the Predator story, it was not necessarily told in depth enough as an origin, but more so just looking back at some of like the earlier versions of the Predator. I don't want to say that this is an origin story of the Predator. Now, although they're kind of depicting it as that, I don't want to say it's brought to the forefront as an origin. I want to say early days. Now, it's a very engaging movie. I love the engagement I got from this, and every scene was very intense in its own way, whether it was emotional, whether it was action-packed. It grabbed you and captivated you, and I love being sucked into a movie like that. And this is why I'm wondering, like, I'm watching this movie going, how did this not go to theaters? They totally missed out on this. You know what's funny? I'm watching this movie, and it set the tone in such a way that at any moment I was waiting for Arnold Schwarzenegger to come out of the wood line with a Gatling gun or something, just kind of wailing away at the Predator. It's weird, I know, but it's just something I saw in my head. Which, again, I think is a compliment, because to capture the original essence of the movie is very, very important, and a lot of that gets lost as you go down the road in the franchise with new movies, and you get farther and farther away from that. So overall, I'm definitely going to rank this very high up on my Predator franchise list. Again, the original is always the best, but this one could possibly rank number 2 for me because this was that well done. So do yourself a favor and go watch it if you're a fan of the Predator. You're not going to be disappointed at all. If you have seen it, whether you haven't seen it, do me a favor and leave your comments down below. Let's talk about this. Drop a like on the video for me. Hit that subscribe button on your way out if you haven't already. I'm Kevin, and I'll see you at the concession stands.